Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Carve Your Own Fucking Path, a podcast made to inspire you to create a life and business on your own terms. You'll hear candid interviews with people who have boldly decided to blaze their own trail, and the occasional solo show with me, your host. I'm Willa McDonough, on-camera coach, storyteller, and remote video producer. 5 years ago, I moved from my home base of San Francisco to the coast of Portugal, taking a big leap into the unknown. Some called it courageous. I called it carving my own fucking path. Today, I live in Lisbon and run a business that elevates your online presence, helping you show up confidently on camera to create videos that showcase your brand and personality so you can get more visibility and attract clients by being yourself. If you're just starting out in business or you've been doing it for a while, you're sure to pick up tidbits of actionable advice and hopefully feel inspired by stories from people who have chosen the unconventional and sometimes messy path. And if you've been waiting for a sign to start carving your own fucking path, this is it. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to part 2 of What Really Matters in Life with Mike T. If you're just listening to this for the first time and you didn't catch part 1, I suggest you hop over and listen to that episode first so you can hear the beginning of the episode. Thanks so much for listening. Okay, on to part 2.
2015 came rolling about, and this would have been 2-3 years into this whole thing, the partying, being around so many people, traveling, being around celebrities. I was burnt out.
Yep.
Right? Like I said, I was averaging 3-4 hours of sleep a night.
It's crazy.
I wasn't seeing my family members. I was drinking a lot. I just, there was so many things going on around me that I was just like, damn, I just realized like I haven't really, and I noticed this when I came back to Toronto one day, and I think I had like a sore knee or a sore throat, or I don't even remember exactly what it was, but I was feeling weird, right? And my mom was like, why don't you go to a doctor, right? And then she was like, when's the last time you went to the doctor? And when I was thinking back, I was like, damn, I think it's been like 5 years.
Wow.
And when I sat down and thought about it, I'm like, how is it that like I got into this lifestyle in this world to the point where like I'm not even going to the doctor, like for a checkup, right? I don't know what the average is. I'm assuming it's like once a year or once every 2 years at least.
A lot lower.
Is it a lot lower?
It's a lot. I think typically men don't go as much, but were you in your mid-20s at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Early to mid-20s probably.
Okay. And do you think that, was there health stuff that you were ignoring, or was it just that your health well-being was the last thing on your mind?
It was the last thing on my mind. I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about anything. And so my two buddies, like, thank God for Jason and Kelvin. I think I came out and hung out with them one of the days, and they were just telling me like, yo, like, we're going backpacking in 2 weeks to Colombia. And at that point, I'm like, I'm making a little bit of money. And, I had already quit my job, like my 9-to-5 at that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I need a break. Let's just go. Right. So 2 weeks later, I was on that same flight with them to Colombia backpacking. And it's so funny because I was not ready for backpacking, like not at all. Like
especially in the jungle.
Yes. When I was traveling, I was not holding around a backpack. I had luggage. I was like in hotels, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I was not my two guys had like their backpacks. I was literally lugging around this huge ass freaking Swiss Army. It was heavy as hell, thing. Like, it was terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of needed times within those 2 weeks to just like decompress and just like get away,
Yeah.
And it was that trip where I was like, something's not right. I'm not happy. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm supposed to be happy, and the outside, like all my friends and family are like, congratulations. What the hell are you congratulating me for? You know, like deep down inside, I think I just felt empty. I didn't feel like I forgot how I answered that whole, what do you want to be when you grow up, you know? And I think I started getting engulfed in this world and this ideology of being somebody.
Yeah.
That
the image.
I was being everybody except for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, sorry, at that time, can you remember what your values were? Like what, cause like, it sounds like they were not aligned. So can you talk about that?
Totally. I think, so like I said, I grew up in church. Like I went to church every Sunday, did the Sunday school thing. I think at one point when I was a teenager, my church was like trying to almost lure me to become a pastor. Like I remember having a conversation with my mom, and my mom's like, hey, like so-and-so from the church is saying that if after grade 12, you want to become a pastor, they'll pay for your Bible college. In my head, I'm like, sure, like, but in my head, I'm just like, yeah,
wow.
Imagine that. And it would have been different for sure. Yes. But the point is, like, I think I very much grew up with a lot of foundational values and like this understanding of kindness and love and generosity and being true to yourself. And I think around this time was also the same time that I started going to church during my trips, my music trips. And so what I did was I started, so like I said, I would work with my team in the studio all night long, come back to the hotel maybe 5 a.m., sleep for a couple of hours, wake up for 9 a.m. My guys that I worked with probably don't even know this themselves, but I would sneak downstairs because usually most hotels on Sundays have some sort of chapel thing going on, or some sort of spiritual room where they'll have some sort of gathering. And so the specific hotels that we went to usually had something like that on Sundays. And so, I would go down and just listen to a pastor speak a sermon. And in a lot of ways, that in addition to my trip to Colombia, were my two kind of ways of searching for why is it that I don't feel happy? And what is it that I need to do? Like, why, right? Like, I don't get it. And I was in limbo for a very long time. Like, it wasn't until the quarantine when it really hit me. So this year, pretty much.
So 7, 8
where it hit me.
Of this feeling.
Yeah.
Of this disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors? I'm just curious about that because I know you're really big on that. You're a mentor to so many young artists, up and coming. So did you have anybody that you had there?
I wish. There was a couple people that I looked up to, and there's a couple people that I would follow that I would learn from. But I think and I feel like what happened was I kept on kind of working with somebody, realized that something they didn't really vibe with me, and I would kind of move on. And this kind of went on over and over again, not just in music, by the way. I was searching for like people in the church. I was searching for older cousins. I was searching for, at one point I was even talking to my wife's brother. I was longing for some sort of direction. And I think what's good to take away from my story and my experience, at least, and what I find is that mentorship is not necessarily about the person who's relaying the message and the lesson. You know what I mean? Mentorship is about what is the lesson you could take from the person who's outputting it at that moment in time? And I think everybody's experiences are different. Everybody's lives are different. And that's not to say none of these people were good mentors, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I guess I was searching for somebody who related to me completely, to the point where like they just understood me. And the fact of the matter is, you're never going to find anybody who completely relates to you. And that was the thing that I learned this year, where I was just like, well, hey, like I've been looking for years here for somebody to kind of follow suit, follow in their footsteps, blah, blah, blah. But we're in a world today where like, you know, we could build our own lives, and like every person is different. And this is what I teach my artists as well. Every artist is different.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could look at somebody else's career and say, oh, like this is really cool. I'm going to try to implement it in my life. Oh, this person made this mistake. Okay, like I'm going to learn from that lesson. But at the end of the day, you know, no pun intended, but you're carving your own path, right? You're carving your own fucking path. And
unintended.
And, yeah. And I think that's an important thing to take away, that I learned in a lot of ways the hard way. So yeah.
That's so powerful, because that is something that is missing, I feel like, a lot for most people, is having this, like, someone a little bit ahead and kind of guiding you. And you, I mean, especially in this industry, it sounds like as well, so different. Your path is going to be much different. But have you found with religion, I don't know, is that still a part of your life? Is it still something you're incorporating and that you're finding a little bit of guidance there?
Good question. I don't want to be a stickler, but for me, I find a lot of issues with this whole idea of religion. So as a younger kid, I was a very curious kid. So I in high school, I took world religions. I took philosophy. I studied philosophy in university. I would go, although I went to a Christian church, I went to a Catholic school where there was priests walking around, and I would have, you know, Father Mike, you know, like guiding me. I would also visit Buddhist temples, Hindu temples. I would read up on Judaism. I was a very curious kid, you know what I mean?
That sounds like it.
And so to answer your question, I think rather than religion guiding me, I think it was more spirituality. It was almost like I understood that there was something greater. And I'm not here obviously trying to preach or anything like that. Like, I'm probably the last person that should be doing that. But I do believe in a God. Like, I definitely believe in something out there, right? I believe that there has to be something greater. There has to be something that's beyond us, right? What that is, I think that's self-semantics at the end of the day.
Right.
But knowing and understanding that there is something bigger, I think not only gives us hope, obviously at a time like this, you know, but also gives us clarity in our pathway. Because in all honesty, I think the issue with clarity in people's lives oftentimes is that their inability to be clear with their vision comes from believing that there has to be an image of their vision in front of them. That's the biggest issue. Because it's like, and that's what I felt, right? It's like, I had to build up this facade of like, yeah, I'm in the music industry. Yeah, I party all the time. Yeah, I'm hanging out with celebrities. Yeah, like I'm driving around in Lamborghinis and like all this stuff. And it's like, I was trying to build a vision that I thought would make my vision clear. But in actuality, it's letting go of all that stuff and allowing myself to be who I am and gravitate towards the things that are for me that really clarified my vision, you know? And it's so ironic because like we said earlier, right? Kids are asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they want us to answer a question. And it's almost like they're taking away our clarity by doing that.
Yep. So true. Being rather than forcing the vision or making it, again, you're doing all the things that you potentially thought were part of the whole vision. All that, it sounds like the surfacey stuff.
Exactly.
In a way. And so you started achieving this success. Take us back to the ghostwriting, like where your songs are being sung by these mega artists. I mean, what is some of the internal dialogue going on when you hear the song, your song on the radio, for example?
Yeah, I think like I said, the initial factor was there, right? Like I made it, right? Like, I'm cool now. I'm accepted, you know what I mean? And I'm like, like I thought I made it, like, and I think, like I said, like I quickly realized that all this stuff, first of all, these celebrities are just people, which is something I learned extremely quickly.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
And secondly, not everything is what it seems.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, obviously, but I'll tell you this much. There are things, I don't think it's just the music industry. I think it's like, especially with social media now, there's this ideology that popularity equates to success, or like followers equates to money, or like likes equates to money. And sometimes it does. Absolutely. But oftentimes it doesn't. And I've seen that with my own two eyes. And artists who normally I would have seen on TV and been like, yeah, like this guy's got it all. Behind closed doors, behind the social media and the high quality photos and the high quality videos, not so much.
Yeah.
And that's when it really hit me, right? And like I said, I don't take away from the experience. Like, it was an amazing experience. I'm super blessed to go through it and be a part of that, have that be a part of my story. But I really quickly, like, the facade and the buzz and the excitement and the honeymoon stage, I guess, as you will, quickly disappeared. Very quickly disappeared.
Interesting. Your story is unique in many ways, but also I love the subconscious mind is always driving us forward, and in all decision making. And so you achieved this success on social media before social media was even a thing. Twitter, YouTube, two things now people are so deliberate about creating a following, a fan base, subscribers. You just did it and it happened organically. But underneath it all, it sounds like you wanted to be accepted and you wanted to be seen so badly that it ended up happening for you. And then as you're like moving, it sounds pretty quickly, into this world, then it became a bit of like, oh, they're just like us, like celebrities. It sounds like you saw a bit of more of the truth behind all the gloss. And did you not value it as much anymore?
I wouldn't say that. Cause like I said, I'm still super thankful of the experience itself.
Sorry, valued the success, like fame and money and like all that stuff. Did it become a bit like, oh, now I see how to get there, and that it maybe isn't?
Well, that's the thing. I never actually valued it per se. Okay. I just, like I said, I thought it was a part of the job. You know what I mean? Like that's what I had to do. That's what's supposed to happen, So I wouldn't say I ever really was like in love with it, And it wasn't until I started slowing down and went to Colombia and, like got that doctor's checkup where I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I'm not actually happy. Like, you know, like I'm not feeling good about myself. And so, yeah, that's kind of when things started switching up. And I really kind of switched up my mentality, switched up the people that I was around. That same trip, by the way, I met my wife.
I was just going to say,
beautiful wife. Yes.
You have to tell us that story.
And obviously, like I'm getting closer to my parents now. Who are obviously now getting a little bit older. Getting closer to my sister. Is just reigniting the actual things that matter, you know? So when you're talking a little bit about the whole, like, oh, like the facade of like the flashiness, the glitz and glam, I think that's cool and all, you know what I mean? But it's not so much like, because there's some people that do like that stuff. And like, I'm not going to take that away from it, you know? Like, yeah, buy your cars, like do whatever you need to do. The more important thing is to understand that there's a part of this whole story of life where it goes beyond these things. Like, just don't allow these things to control you, you know, and overshadow this whole being, like showing up, right? Like, being happy, like do not allow that to be the forefront. And it's like what we said, it's like, you know, so many people are trying to get more followers, trying to get more likes. Like, let's say if there's a business trying to start up and they're trying to get more followers, getting more likes, shouldn't you be thinking more about how you could build a legitimate business to get legitimate clients?
Yeah. Serve.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
others.
So that's kind of like the disconnect, right? In this world today, it's like we've put social media on this pedestal where it's like young people specifically, I feel like are getting trapped in this whole social media world that it's almost like the Matrix, right? Like
popularity contests, like you were saying earlier about wanting to be popular or seen, but in this way it's become, I feel a lot of compassion for kids these days, and I'm so grateful to not have grown up with all that, but that it's all vanity metrics, you know, getting caught up in that. And I think it's for anyone. I mean, doesn't matter how old you are, getting caught up in that and basing so much of your worth potentially on these metrics. So let me ask you, like, what is your definition of happiness now and success? And are you living it?
And that's another loaded question. But for me personally speaking, so earlier this year, like I mentioned, the quarantine was the thing that really opened up my eyes. I went to therapy, which is a story in itself, but long story short, my good friend, JP, who was actually my past DJ, but he now owns like a CBD company called CBD Resolve. But he suggested I went to therapy. And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? Right. Cause like I was telling him, like, I'm not really feeling, I don't know if I'm feeling unhappy. I don't know if I'm feeling empty, but I feel weird. You know, like I don't feel good. So literally the conversation with the first couple therapists that I did consultations with, I was like, they'd be like, yeah, like, why are you here? I'm like, I'll be real with you. Like, I don't really know. Like, I think I'm happy. Like, I think my life is pretty good for the most part. Like, I'm very grateful for what I'm going through and what I've gone through. I don't know why I'm here, you know? And it wasn't until recently where like I had to really sit down and reevaluate my life that I started realizing, wait a minute, like, why am I doing all this? Right?
Yeah. It's a big one.
Like the why, you know, like, yeah, I'm doing this music thing. Yeah, I'm traveling a lot. Yeah. Like, why though? Right? Like, why?
Yep.
Like I missed a lot of weddings. I missed a lot of baby showers, whatever it may be. Why am I doing this? You know? And the tough part was, tough pill to swallow for myself was that like, I couldn't answer it. I couldn't answer it. And I just remember, because this was already in the quarantine. So this was actually a video call or a phone call with my therapist, Steven, and I started breaking down in tears. I was like breaking down, like all these years hustling and grinding and pushing and feeling or at least telling myself I was feeling successful.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer that question. I just couldn't, you know? And so I started reevaluating this year and really just kind of thinking about what I wanted to do. And that's when I kind of came to the realization that like, I want to change this world. I want to help people. I want to make people's lives easier, make people's lives better. I want to be a great husband, you know? I want to be a great son. I want to be a good grandson. My grandma's still around, you know? And I started naming things and writing a bunch of different things that I wanted to be, you know, on a sheet of paper. And a lot of it was like, I want to teach. I want to help. I want to make people's lives easier. I want to make this world a better place. I want to, you know, all these different things that I had forgotten about. Like I didn't, or maybe I didn't even think about it, right? But at this point in time, it was like, I really kind of like a light bulb came in my head. I'm like, okay, I got to switch things up. And that's kind of where we're at today. I cut ties with some people that I felt like weren't really vibing with the vision that I had, and started up this new company with some of my good friends and business partners called Emtee Education, where basically what we do is we mentor, we help young artists to solidify a career in music, and look at the foundations for what it is. So allowing artists to really build up a business rather than chasing a viral video or a bunch of followers, and really understanding the importance of sustainability and the importance of not only putting food on the table for after one single, but being able to put food on the table for many, many years to come, you know? And a part of that, a big part of that is understanding that the emotional and mental aspect of not only being in business and doing music, but the mental and emotional importance of life as a whole, you know, is so key, you know? And we focus quite a bit on that as well, like in the studio, when we're talking about branding, more like the personal aspect of things. So yeah, to answer your question, what makes me happy is knowing that, you know, I have a wife that loves me. I love her to death. Beautiful wife at home. Every time I come home from the studio, and the fact that I have a great relationship with my parents now, that
that's awesome.
You know, I'm able to come to my grandma's birthday celebrations, you know, and funny enough, back in the day, I would look down on that stuff, right? I would be like, nah, like having a wife, no way. You know what I mean? Like,
gonna tie me down.
Yeah, like going to weddings, like, nah, I gotta stay in the studio, right? Like I gotta go party with this person, that person. And it's like the happiness now comes in understanding that like all I really want to do is kind of do good in this world and affect people in a positive manner, and hopefully teach people some of the lessons that I've learned throughout my experiences, so they won't go through the same mistakes, you know?
And you're doing that with this mentorship program, we'll call it. Yeah. And so what is the age group that you're working with? Like, how young are they?
They range. They very much range. So the youngest one I've worked with was a 13-year-old, probably.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All the way up to their 40s. You know what I mean? So music is such a cool place because like there's just so many different types of people you could run into.
Right.
But it does range. Now, here's the funny thing: like, no matter the age, though, it's funny because like you would expect an older person to kind of get things a little bit more, right? That's not always the case. Yeah. Or like younger people, right? I mean, this goes back to the social norms or like what people think is true or fact, right? But yeah, like I know 14-year-olds that are more mature and more self-confident and self-understanding than like a 40-year-old, you know? So, but yes, the age range goes as super young to super old. Okay. Not super old, super wise, super experienced. But yeah, it's been a ride. It's definitely been a ride. Yeah.
Sounds like it. I mean, you're just we've always been like just grounded, you know, and I would say humble, but I so appreciate you being like very vulnerable and honest about like really what was happening for you, because so much of the time we just see the outer layer. We see the success, we see the likes, you know, all of those things. But we rarely question like, what are you really feeling underneath? And like, what is really driving you? So what are you most excited about? Well, first of all, what are you most proud about? What are you most proud of?
Wow. Okay. Coming to a point where I know myself. I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of, because, and you know, like I give a lot of credit to my wife, because Monica, love her to death. The big thing that I think she really opened up my eyes to was, you know, when I first met her, I did the normal, you know, like talk about music, talk about who I knew, talk about what I did. She did not give a crap at all.
And she's Colombian, right?
She is Colombian, yes. Which I thought was going to be a big thing, because like the studio I was at in Miami, I would come across Daddy Yankee. I would come across Enrique. So I'm dropping I'm pulling up all the stops, right? Nothing at all. Wow. No, nothing at all. Wow. And, you know, we started dating like after the fact, but when we started really getting to know each other, I think I started feeling loved, you know? I started feeling that emptiness get filled up. And I was like, what is going on exactly? And what I started realizing is that for the first time, I was exposing my real self. You see, like no cars, no celebrities, no parties, no music, just me. Yeah. And if you don't know yourself, then you don't start understanding yourself, you won't understand not only how to love, but you won't understand how to be loved, you know? Yeah. You won't understand how to feel accepted. Because like I said from the very beginning, I just wanted to be accepted. But the issue was that I didn't know myself to be accepted. You know, it's like saying like, yeah, I want to join the basketball team, but I'm not sure if I play basketball, right? And that was kind of the confusion. Validation. Exactly. Yeah. I want to be on a team, but is it the basketball team? Is it the volleyball team? Like, I didn't even pick a sport yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's something that I'm super proud of and extremely happy about, because that was the thing that allowed me to become a better husband, a better son. I think a better person, you know? I don't know if that sounds cocky, but like, no, I feel like my energy is different, I guess you could say, you know, like it's just a different spirit. It's a different energy. It's a different feeling. And it's almost like I was going back to the feeling of listening to my dad play guitar for the first time, and feeling that comfortability, feeling that peace, feeling that I don't care what anything else in the world is happening. Like I'm here right now. I'm being me, you know, like, and, you know, it took me 30 and somewhat years, but I'm very proud that I finally made it, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What are you most looking forward to right now?
Well, with the quarantine, I'm looking forward for borders to open up and get back on the road and see people um, and all that. But I'm also excited about, obviously, my marriage. I'm super excited about that. Super excited about, now that I know myself, now that I'm in a place where I'm confident in myself, where this could go, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed that relationship getting better. I've noticed my relationships with my parents. I'm super excited about my relationship with my parents. And obviously on the business standpoint in music, I'm super excited about a number of different things, projects that we're working on as well. So a lot of the artists that we're working with, I'm super excited about. One of our artists, Ari Roberto, just released a movie that she starred in on Amazon Prime. I actually have another artist in the studio right now, Jalen. He's currently talking to Neo. I had another artist out in Calgary, also in Canada, who's right now in talks with Timbaland. And then most recently, we just announced that we'll be putting out, I'll be helping my good friend Janssen put out a new beat tape as well. So a lot of things to be excited for sure.
So many things. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Are you still writing music? Curious about that. Are you still like on that? Yeah, you are.
I can't stop, to be honest. I will say, like, I am much more on the executive side now. And it's just the role that I'm playing at the moment. But when it comes to writing music, yeah, like I technically don't have to be in the studio. I have my team here already. I like being in the studio. I enjoy being around music, writing as well. I enjoy getting to know artists who I'm working with. So yeah, like I definitely still write music. Yeah.
That's cool. How often do you share your story with your artists? Do you speak to them straight?
Not to this extent.
No.
Not to in all honesty, like,
I'm honored. Thank you.
Well, to be honest, like it was tough to even get myself to kind of do this interview. Like, this is probably the first one. I've had a couple of people ask me, but like I said, like I don't like talking about myself. Like,
really? Oh.
I really don't. It's like, I'm always thinking about like, oh, like, am I saying the right thing? Should I not say that? Like, should I say that? And we kind of like had that conversation too. I'm like, but to answer your question, yeah, like I definitely tell my artists different stories, small things here and there, but I wouldn't say to this extent. And no, yeah. So I don't talk about it very often, in all honesty.
Okay.
It was this, and a couple weeks back, I got called in to speak in front of my old university, in front of some new students. So that was pretty cool. I didn't really go in depth in terms of my story or anything like that. It was more of a Q&A.
Okay.
But those were the most recent moments where like I was able to kind of share my story a little bit and answer some questions. And so.
Well, it sounds like you're in this, like you've made it to this point, but it's still so fresh with just, I mean, all these shifts, obviously, with, the quarantine. Yeah. Are you still talking to your therapist?
No, I'm not actually. Not currently.
Okay. No.
So with Steven, I think, and this goes back to this whole concept of having a mentor, right? And having people to talk to. I truly believe that people come into your lives for specific moments sometimes, Yeah. I think with the whole therapy, it was the right time at that moment. I think, I might go back. I might do some more sessions, and I would definitely encourage anybody who hasn't even tried it to do it, Yeah. But I wouldn't say I'm regularly doing it currently. But I do plan on well, I practice a lot of the exercises that he gives me.
Okay.
So in a lot of ways, I am still kind of like putting forth some of the things I learned in those sessions. But no, I'm not having regular sessions. at the moment, at least.
I was just curious if it was something that you were carrying on, but I mean, just the fact that you did it, that you went and even explored that, I mean, it's huge because like you said, if you don't know yourself, how can you let anyone else like truly in? And so it takes a lot of courage to do that. So I commend you on that.
Thank you.
How can people find you and follow your journey?
Yeah, totally. So like I said, if there are any artists out there who are interested, Emtee Education, we do have a website up, Emtee Education.com. But on social media, I'm at It's Mike T. So ITSMICTEE on all platforms, basically. Yeah, I answer my DMs myself now. So feel free to message me. There was a point where I had like a publicist kind of take over my social media. It was a weird moment in my life, but I answer all my messages now. So feel free to hit me up. I like to say that I'm pretty approachable for the most part. Unless you're like disturbing me while I'm watching a Raptors game or something, but
good to know. You have your boundaries.
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, I am approachable. So feel free to hit me up if anybody out there is trying to get into music or trying to pick my brain a little bit. I'm an open book. So
are you? Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge you again for showing up here, taking down, any sort of barriers or walls and just being like, this is me, because we need to hear more of this. Thanks.
Well, I mean, I have to commend you because I think what you're doing with the show and everything is super dope. Like, I didn't tell you this, but like, I've been like listening to all the episodes, like
really? Oh,
and just kind of following your journey as well. And
I'm honored.
These are the type of conversations that need to be had right now and spotlighted,
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you for giving me the outlet to do so.
Oh, thank you. So. You're the best. Seriously. I love talking to you because you just, you keep it real. It's refreshing.
I try my best to, Hey, I would have said that probably back in 2014 as well, but I would say now I'm keeping it real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, it is definitely a process.
Peeling back the layers. Yeah. Totally. Well, I'll let you go because I know you're in studio and
yes,
you're a busy exec.
Well, thank you so much for having me again, Willow.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. It makes a big difference for visibility. And even better, share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode every other Wednesday. If you're interested in working together to elevate your online presence, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me on Instagram at whereiswillow. I also hang out on LinkedIn, Willow McDonough. Until then, cheers to carving your own fucking path. I love you.